What's up, everybody? It's Danny Green here. You're watching Inside the Green Room on NBC Sports Philadelphia. And in this episode, we were lucky enough to be joined by the one and only, the legendary Dr. J. He came by to talk to us about our team championship chase, our matchup against the Nets, and he also gave us some fashion advice. Let's get into it.
What's good? It's Harrison Sanford. That's Danny Green. This is Inside the Green Room on NBC Sports Philadelphia. We have Dr. J on the show. He's going to talk to us about a multitude of things, basketball related, fashion related. You know what time it is. But before we do that, I want to catch up with Danny real quick, who's back on the road again after being on the road with that West Coast trip. And while you've been gone, I assumed you missed your dogs, and now you're thinking about potentially getting another pet.
I always miss my dogs, man. We were gone for 13, 14 days. I don't think I've ever had a road trip like that. Even with the rodeo road trip in San Antonio, we were gone for the whole month, but it was broken up to like a week, then All-Star break, then another week. But 13 to 14 straight days is a long time. And so I did miss my dogs. I wasn't thinking about getting one, but somebody sent me a picture of another, I have two Pomskis. So somebody sent me a picture of another Pomsky that came in to the same pet store that I got my two dogs from. And she was a female, and we don't want another dog until we get kids. We don't have kids yet. So we're waiting to have kids first. But when I saw her, I kind of thought about it more than I should have about getting another one. But, dogs that higher maintenance, a little bit more to take care of, hard to do, especially when you're traveling. So that kind of put me in a route of maybe going back to getting, because I had snakes, maybe going to reptiles again, maybe getting some newer snakes or something that's low maintenance or easier to handle than, mammals. But yeah, man, waiting to have kids first before we get another dog. And hopefully it's to just keep two. Some other people give me perspective. You don't do three because it's harder to travel with them. You have emotional support animals. Two, it's okay, one for each person. But if you have more than two, it's so much harder to get them on the airline. So that's something to take into account. But yes, getting another pet, something maybe exotic, is something that has been on my mind as of late.
Well, the thing about having two dogs too, if you have people in your life who are offering to babysit your dogs, it's kind of hard for them to take care of two. A certain co-host of this show would know how difficult it might be to babysit two Pomeranian Huskies. Well, that's a story for another day. Before we get to Dr. J, real quick, who is the person you are the least likeliest to trust babysitting your dog on the team?
Okay, on the team, we know the co-host of this show is definitely not trustworthy. That incident you're talking about, that was a bad incident. I had somebody watch my dogs. But on the team, who would I trust the least? There's a couple guys that do have dogs. Some of them are responsible. But if I had to guess, if they didn't have the resources or the money to do so, have somebody train or watch them, it probably would be Ben, maybe. I would think maybe Ben, or...
He's the person you would least trust? Doesn't he have dogs already?
He does, but I think he has people help. I said if he didn't have the resources for people to help him watch the dogs, I don't know.
So you're calling out his dog ownership skills on your pod?
I think he does. He is used to animals, so he's probably more trustworthy. I'm trying to think who is the messiest, least responsible person on the team.
I didn't say you had to say all of that.
Well, that's usually the route you go, man. That's the route you go. I'm trying to think. Like Dwight, he has animals. He is pretty good with them. I think Ben's from Australia, always a lot of animals. Tobias is pretty responsible. I'm trying to think who might be Seth. He seems pretty responsible. He's a Curry. Matisse is very particular. Furkan, I don't know. I see his locker is kind of messy, so it might be Furkan. He might be the guy that I'm not sure if I would trust my dog with him. But I'll probably have to go with the rookies, the young guys. Paul Reed. Probably have to go with Paulie Reed. I think he would have troubles taking care of not just one dog, but two dogs. There was an incident where when I was staying at the hotel, this was funny as hell. We were on the same floor, me and Paul Reed, and he's kind of oblivious. So he has no idea what's going on. I come back from a walk with the dogs. He's down the hallway. They have fun. I let them off the leash. They run and attack him. He doesn't see them till they get to 5 feet up on him, and he just freaks out and jumps out almost into his room, hits the door. He's like, "Oh my God, do they bite?" I'm like, "Nah, bro. If they did, I wouldn't let them off the leash, and they probably would have bit you already." But yeah, I don't know if he's scared of dogs, but that moment was pretty funny, and I think he would probably be the one that would struggle the most with watching my dogs.
That is a valid case for Paul Reed, B-ball Paul, not being the designated babysitter for your dogs, as well as he's probably not in charge of any playlist curation, because I saw that clip Marvin Gray. We all know about it. If you haven't seen it, check it out. It's somewhere on Twitter. We'll be right back with Inside the Green Room. Dr. J is going to join us soon.
How you doing, Doc?
I'm good. I'm good, Danny. How are you, man?
I'm doing okay, man. It's a pleasure to have you on, man. You've always been one of my longtime favorites, idols, people that I've always looked up to, me and my friends, etc. Do I call you Doc, Mr. Erving? What do you prefer to be called?
Well, I mean, Doc is respectful because so many people call me that. Some of them can't pronounce Julius. They don't want to go to Mr. Erving route or whatever, but whatever comes out is appropriate. And I think we could be on a first name basis, man. You earned your stripes.
I appreciate that, Mr. Erving. I'm gonna call you Mr. Erving though, because I was raised a certain way, and I'm
okay.
Be sure I'll be formal and give you the respect that you deserve. So, yeah, it's been a lot of fun, man. Watching you as a kid, as a youngster, and be able to meet you has been unbelievable, man. I would say a lot has happened in this past year. Tell us, and how you've handled it, and describe what your lifestyle has been like since the pandemic over the past year.
Last year has been nothing short of the most difficult year in my history. I'm 71 years old, and I don't remember having a year like this from March to March or from April to April. Once the pandemic hit full blast, particularly the way the White House was acting about it, it just created a state of mass confusion. We hope it gets better before it gets worse. Hanging in there, continuing to breathe, continuing to try to lend a helping hand to those who are less fortunate. I hear about your charity work, your giving, the Sixers' involvement in the community, and what have you. That just becomes something that becomes another positive for me, and another opportunity to try and expand on the different things that I learned as a Salvation Army kid. And that's why the Salvation Army has been my lifelong charity, and I'm always going to be indebted to them because of that.
Dr. J, Julius, Mr. Erving, however,
Mr. Erving.
I should be referring to you. Pleasure to have you on. I do want to talk about basketball and potentially Eastern Conference Finals, and we'll do that later on in the show. But as you were referring to, we've seen a tremendous loss over this past year. If you could just give us some words about the influence that Elgin Baylor had on your career and your path, and then eventually we'll get to more basketball stuff. But I know he had an impact on how you worked your game to where it got to.
Yeah. I'm glad you asked about Elgin. From a distance, maybe I admired him the way that, Danny was talking about it, admiring me, since we both grew up on Long Island, and Elgin is a DC guy. When I first saw him play, man, my eyes lit up, my mouth dropped. I was like, whoa, let me go try that out of the park. So I go down to one of the parks in Hempstead where I was, K through 8, or in Roosevelt where I went, 9 through 12, and, go under the basket, shoot scoop shot, jump in from out of bounds and flip it up on the board, do tricky stuff. And Elgin, he was not only a trickster, but he was powerful. So he'd go and he'd go in on Bill Russell, and Bill always had a motto. He said, yeah, you could trick me once, but you can never trick me twice. And I think Elgin might have been the only guy in that era who could trick him two times, 3 times, 4 times, because, he had a lot of high scoring games. And he was a pleasure and a treat to watch. So, he was a phenomenon. I picked my all-time team, Danny, I picked my all-time team when I was 15 years old. And I said, Wilt and Russell, Jerry West, Oscar Robertson, and Elgin Baylor. That's still my team today. They might call me delusional. That's still my team today, man. I'm sticking with them. Everybody else is on the second team, third team, but that's my team.
That's a great team, man. Nobody can argue that one.
Yeah.
Speaking of elite teams and teams with superior talents, the Brooklyn Nets are a team that are a cause for concern for a lot of people in the NBA, especially other teams competing for the NBA title. When we come back with Inside the Green Room, we're going to discuss the Brooklyn Nets with Dr. J and how they might face up against the Philadelphia 76ers in a potential Eastern Conference Finals. We'll be right back. And now that we see the Brooklyn Nets at their level, I wonder, Mr. Erving, if we get to an Eastern Conference Finals and we see the Brooklyn Nets and the Philadelphia 76ers go head to head, where would your allegiances lie?
Oh man, there's no doubt, straight up. I played my whole NBA career with the Sixers. I split my ABA career with the Virginia Squires and the New York Nets at the time, and I always pulled for the old ABA teams, San Antonio and Denver Nuggets. Utah had a franchise. This one is different because they moved from New Orleans. The Indiana Pacers, yes, for sure. And the Nets. I'm always going to pull for them to do well, but I don't pull for any of them to do well against my Sixers.
Good choice, man. Good choice. I like it, man. I love it. Speaking of the Nets, man, you've seen a lot of basketball in your days and your time. I guess give us a breakdown or your opinion of how they've been able to frame or put together talents. What do you think of their group, their roster, and what they've been able to do?
Yeah, so it's reminiscent of how the Yankees used to do all the time. They load up, man. They call it buying the championship. And the Lakers are known for doing that too. They're just trying to buy a championship, man. They're getting all these pieces. They don't know at the end of the season what it's going to look like or what it's going to feel like, but they're going to be formidable to anyone. When you got a team with 6 former All-Stars and you got several All-Pro guys, 3 guys at least, who have been All-Pro and whatever, who have been there and who have succeeded in the playoffs, then that's quite a challenge. But I think, first of all, we have an advantage coaching-wise based on experience with Doc in terms of the championship experience that you have and Dwight has or whatever. And then the ambition, I think, of Ben and Joel, these guys are hungry now, man. They've been projected and they've been a part of what they call the process for several years. Well, it's time for the process to bear some fruit. And a lot of the blame went to Brett, and he got big shoulders. He's a man about it, and he can only take them so far, and he did. So now you got a guy who's been over the top, who's been there as a champion, been to the finals multiple times, or whatever. So I'm betting my money on Philly, and I think that the confidence, that the team has from playing the type of season that you have had, Danny. I mean, you guys have been incredible, just in terms of, having a better record than last year at the same time, and not having Joel for a lot of those games, and not having Curry set, for a lot of those games, and then other players intermittently because of COVID or injury or whatever, not being there, but finding a way to get those W's. So W's breed confidence, and it's not cool to be overconfident, but it's very cool to be confident. So you need to maintain the confidence and then get out there and perform. That's the way I see it.
Dr. J, I think some of the confidence in Danny's squad, a lot of it comes from the impact that Joel Embiid has on the game, whether it's putting the other team in foul trouble or its ability to get double teams. It's also his unique ability to also stretch the floor, hit threes at a good rate for a big man. What do you think about the impact that he has on the game that could change a series? Because in this new NBA, so much is predicated on three-point shooting and perimeter scoring talent. It feels as if Joel can break the mold of what we've seen recently about when it comes to the types of teams that can win a championship.
MVP candidate. Certainly, he is the team leader. And without him, even with the team having as much success as it has, I don't think we can get all the way to the mountaintop, unless some other guys go down on other teams. And you don't want to bank on that. I mean, you want to go through the front door. So you want to be at full strength, and getting him rested and healthy right now You got a multifaceted team with a guy who has, gone through the school of hard knocks. He's made some bold predictions, and he said some things at different times that, he's had to contradict, or he's had to eat his words. So you get tired of that, man. You get tired of it. Everybody gets tired of it. So I think he being tired of it is like, I'm gonna get it right this time. So hopefully this will be the year.
Additional audio will be on our podcast feed. Make sure you check out us on social media, Instagram, Inside Green Room, and Twitter at Green Room Inside for more information about this episode. But before Dr. J gets out of here, we have to go over some of the most notable fashion fits that we've seen of recent take. And why don't we just start, Dr. J, with Danny? Our producer, Amjad, is pulling up some of this video. So if you're not watching it on NBC Sports Philadelphia, or if you're listening to it on the podcast feed, you'll have to check it out on YouTube as well, so you can get Dr. J's opinion. But Dr. J, you see here this red assemblyman, or however you want to frame it. What do you
listen? But let's keep it. I mean, first, before we get to this, let it be known I am not a model by any means. I am not a fashion mogul. So I do wear some fashionable stuff. So don't put me in the same category as the legendary Doc or Tobias or Ben or Dwight. I do wear some stuff, but I am not a fashion mogul. So, but go ahead, give us your opinion on that.
My opinion, you look totally comfortable.
That was the look. That was what I was going for. In
your own skin, you're comfortable in your own shoes. You're comfortable with the red hoodie on, pants to match. You coordinate. Put on a jacket because it's a little cool or whatever.
Yeah, Philly is cold.
That right around, that's like the topping it off or whatever. So that'll fly anywhere, any day. You might not want to wear it to church. but when they say casual Friday, you at the front of the line.
I think we're gonna go to one of Danny's former teammates from Toronto, Serge Ibaka, who's very fashion fit. This was, I think, this past Sunday when they played against the Lakers in Staples Center. Dr. J, what you got?
Yeah, I saw that. I saw him lurking in the background, since he got a bad back and whatever. He got a lot of camera time, man. He got a little man, whatever. He got the scarf. He kept loosening it up, tightening it up, loosening it up, tightening it up. So he was putting on a show, man. He knew all eyes were on him.
He's an artist.
And that long robe that he had on, that just takes the cake, man. Not everybody can pull that off.
But I think we're going to go to Mr. Jordan Clarkson, who's in strong lead for Sixth Man of the Year. This is Jordan Clarkson's most recent fit. What you got, Doc?
Yeah. All right. I'm checking it out. He's got the burnt orange going. He's got jeans. I think he's got sneakers on, but that's, his sneakers are matching his top or whatever. And he's got the mask striped, the orange, the white, whatever. His glasses, everything. He's got super coordination going or whatever. So he looks like a winner there.
We're going to close it out with this guy before Danny has some more questions for you. Tobias Harris. This is one of his more recent fits. What you got?
Okay. I like it. I think it's great for him. It's kind of like a mixture of, okay, let me come out in my, my sneakers, my jeans, my t-shirt and whatever. And I got my mask on. But now when I put my jacket on, suddenly, this could be a $1,500 jacket, or, and suddenly the clothes make the man.
But yeah, Tobias is a fashion mogul, man. That guy does it night in, night out. Professional on and off the court. Obviously, he's a Long Island guy, and you watched him, I'm sure, a ton. I've watched him a ton. Where do you think he can finish as one of the top Long Islander, top players coming out of Long Island? Where do you think he can finish in that sense?
Well, I've known Terrell like 30 years, 35 years. So we started kicking it that long ago. When I was 30, he was probably like 32 or 31 or whatever. So, so I watched the family, kept tabs on them. And Tobias has made his mark. Nothing was given to him. You know, he's found a way, you know, to be that unsung hero, that quiet superstar. You know, he's still got an upside even after these years, you know, because, you know, everybody wants to give him advice of what he could do and so on and so forth. I'm like, you know, you just need to listen to Doc. You know, you've had best results with Doc Rivers, and he knows how he wants to play you and how you best suit the team. And, you know, he and Joel are like the 1-2 punch. Joel and him are like the 1-2 punch. And, you know, that's got to work. I mean, that's sort of like, you got to have 2 guys, you got to have 3 guys. You know, you're the next guy in the rotation and whatever. So you know what they expect of you. And once you know that, and if everybody plays defense, the defense alone is going to take care of about a third of your offense. You know, so it becomes way less complicated. You know, now instead of 100% trying to figure out how to beat the other team, you only got to figure out how to beat them 66% of the time, because your defense is, you know, scoring a third of your points and creating situations that they can't compete against, either fast breaks or fouling or what have you.
We hope that you're able to come down to Wells Fargo Center, potentially when it gets real deep in the playoffs, and you'll be able to root on your team and some guys who have very close roots to where you're from and looked up to you growing up. I think that's almost like, I imagine you seeing guys win for a team that you played for with guys that grew up from where you're from that looked up to you. Yeah. That's almost like a secondary celebration for you, another feather in your cap, I would almost imagine.
It's a great story. It's a great story, and we want it all to come true. So do your job, man. Do your job.
I'll try my best, man. Hopefully get it done this year. It'll be nice, man. It'll be fun.
Oh, you will. I know you will. All right.
Thank you so much for your time, man. I appreciate you.
Okay. Later.